Economic certainty. Pair this with increasing frustration that despite the federal government spending over $240 billion on Indigenous priorities since 2014, many Indigenous communities still face poor outcomes. In your view, what's the end state of reconciliation?
Well, I think the end state is going forward. We have to create a country where everybody has opportunity. I think the end state is the Enoch Reserve near Edmonton, where Chief Billy Morin took 20% unemployment, brought it down to 3%, took a huge deficit, turned it into a balanced budget, and opened up his reserve to business so that his community became self-reliant. I'm very proud that he's now a member of our caucus. Or it looks like Kitimat, where Alice Ross, who's also one of my MPs now, was the chief counselor of the Haisla and signed a deal to bring the $40 billion LNG Canada project, the single biggest project in Canadian history of any kind, public or private. This is going to be like tens of billions of dollars of benefit for all Canadians, and his people will now live in prosperity forever. That is the end state of reconciliation. It's not through court cases or government bureaucracies in Ottawa that only make us all poorer. It is through the model that I just described of unleashing the power of enterprise, opportunity, and allowing First Nations to use their God-given talents in building our economy with other Canadians.
Has empathy been weaponized?
I would say complexity has been weaponized, because the whole bureaucratic apparatus in both the First Nations government departments, now there's two, there used to be one, now there's two, and in all aspects of government, the average person, including Indigenous Canadians, would look at it and say that these programs aren't working. They're making everybody except a small group in Ottawa poorer, and they benefit only the people in power. And the reason that they get away with it is because it's so damn complicated. How all these government programs in Ottawa, they have good names and flashy PR programs, but no one in the real world has time to figure out even what they do. And so, we're dumping tens of billions of dollars into all kinds of programs that have nice names, like Build Canada Homes, which doesn't build any homes, or yet another defense procurement agency, which can't figure out how to buy anything for our military. But because the average welder or small businessman is too busy feeding his kids, building a business, paying his taxes, and he can't decipher it all, he ends up paying for it and getting nothing in return. And that's not just the case when it comes to First Nations programming. It's the case with all the programming. And I don't blame the people, the grassroots people, either in First Nations or other communities. I blame this bureaucratic and political industrial complex in Ottawa.
What role does media play in that?
Well, it should be to hold the government accountable. Unfortunately, our media seems to think that their job is to hold the people accountable to the government rather than the government accountable to the people. But every day there's a scandal that comes out in the form, like read Blacklocks. They're actually a real media outlet. They expose governmental wrongdoing and waste every day, and it gets no coverage in mainstream media. So I think that's why people are looking for alternative media that will get them the facts that the government-funded and corporate-controlled outlets don't report.
I want to make sure I get this right, so I'm going to read it here. The government of Canada has provided over $3.4 billion in subsidies, tax breaks, and grants to support the operations of the Canadian media industry since 2017. This figure doesn't include the amount spent on CBC or the amounts the government spends on federal advertising, subscriptions with mainstream media company, and it does not include the numerous laws that they've used to protect the media from competition. With such enormous amounts flowing from government, some Canadians are starting to question the independence of mainstream media organizations. Can government subsidies to media organizations coexist with a free and open press?
Let's go back to language. Language is important. You've just made the case that the media is dependent on the government. Can something that is dependent be independent?
After our last interview, to go on the media train here a little bit, several former political staffers reached out to me and told me that there is an unspoken quid pro quo in this town where backroom negotiations with journalists secure favorable coverage and avoid negative coverage in exchange for exclusive interviews. What's your reaction to that?
I guess it's possible. Media have to negotiate to get information, I suppose, but I really don't. I think the main problem is that too much of it is controlled by government and too much of it is concentrated. And I think what we need to have is more independent voices like yours so that Canadians have choice and freedom. And we've seen this government has been trying to concentrate more and more media power, whether it's through C11, which allows the CRTC to manipulate social media algorithms to favor certain types of media, whether it's the proposed, I think it was C68, which was designed to promote, to get rid of what are called online harms, ill-defined idea that could include things that the government considers to be politically incorrect, or whether it's the enormous subsidies that there's no question media outlets have to consider when they do their jobs. So I think what we need is more decentralization, more competition, more freedom, more choice. And you know what? That's the idea of having a free and independent media. It's not perfect, but it's better than all the alternatives. If we don't trust the people